Marvelous. Okay. Great. Let's see. For those of you who are brand new, my name is Chaim Solomon. I am one of the teachers here. And every Sunday now, we are both on the Spiritual Sunday Facebook page, and we're also on Kabbalah.com. So they've just joined us, so if we can say hello to all the people around the world. Happy Spiritual Sunday. Let them hear you. Yes. Remember now, we've got Norway, we've got Venezuela, we have all over the Far East, we have Hong Kong and Manila watching, we have, all over the, Dubai, we have a student there. It's just amazing how far we can reach. So again, that's the whole idea. We cannot do it ourselves. If we want to see our lives get better, and we want to see the world get better, I mean, how do you make a better world? Isn't it interesting, we always said, well, they say, or they're doing, or they this. Who are they? I mean, who makes the world? 7.5 billion individuals. There's no world without humanity. There's humanity. There's people. And so the whole point of what we're doing here is how to improve each person's life. Because as your life gets better, like so many things in our life, you see a great movie, you go to a great restaurant, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to share it with friends. So then when Kabbalah is improving our lives, we want to do the same thing. We just want to do in all the ways possible and as fast as we can. Because imagine when we can start spreading this light and this transformation to another billion people. I mean, imagine now 1 billion people behaving the way that we're behaving more and more about. What's going to happen to the world? It's got to get better. Because 1 billion times, the beauty with spirituality, we teach, we still have to do our affirmation, but we teach Kabbalistically. They tell us that there are 2 realms of existence. The 1% realm, which is the 5 senses, the physical material world, and the spiritual realm, therefore, is the 99%. So then think about it. Every action we do in the 1% will come back to us how many more times? 99 times. So then the more of us that are united and we're all helping each other to do more and more spiritual actions of sharing, love, generosity, forgiveness, tolerance, we're receiving individually back 99 times exponentially. But then it's also 1 and 1 is 3, 2 and 2 is 18, 18 and 18, don't ask me to keep doing that, right? But it just expands exponentially. That's the way the spiritual world works. The purpose of the opponent that's in our head, that negative voice, is to make us doubt our power, make us doubt our capability. But we have to keep reminding ourselves we have tremendous capability. As we'll talk about this morning, we have the power of the light of the Creator. And there is nothing more powerful than that. I don't care who you look at and you say, well, those people are controlling the world, the country, my life, my this and this. Nobody's more powerful than the Creator. And each and every one of us have that power inside of us. And that's why, as we're about to do here in a minute, it's constantly reaffirming and reaffirming and reaffirming and reaffirming until we believe it more and more and more in our day. That's it. It's just that simple. If we could always remember who we really are, it'd be a lot easier to handle the world. We would feel a lot more positive, optimistic, even to use those words. So let's get started. There we go. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. And remember, what does the word commit mean? I promise. I promise I will. So now I'm holding you to that. Okay, so now you're, how do they call it? You're on the hook. You're on the hook. At least once today before you go to sleep, you must, because you've promised, and I know you're all people of your word, you've promised to act with, what was the key? Not just kindness, love, and compassion, because you already do that. Greater love, kindness, and compassion. That's the key. That's the key. So that's what's expected of all of us, because in the end of the day, I mean, think about it. Almost the first person, probably usually, the first person you see in the morning is whom? Yourselves. You go in the bathroom, you wash your face, you wash your hands, whatever you do, and probably for most of us, there's a mirror right there. And no matter how much you try and avoid that mirror, what do you end up doing one way or another? Looking in the mirror. And virtually the last thing we do at night is again look in the mirror, whether you're brushing your teeth, washing your face, something. So really the only person that you have to be responsible to and for is ourselves. So then let's be more responsible to act with greater love, kindness, and compassion because it's good for us. That's the most important. Look, even he knows. Right? Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's it. And the beauty is the more we'll do that, the better our life will be. And the better our life will be, isn't it funny? You ever walked around somebody who's like sniffling or whatever, and you go to hug them or say, "Oh, no. Don't come near me," right? I don't want to give you what I've got. You ever had that? Yes. So what are they telling you? What are they in fear of? Or what sometimes are we in fear of? Catching what they've got, right? Because it's contagious. Hello? What about the light of the Creator? Happiness, joy, health, peace, love. Isn't that also contagious? Yes. Exactly, but we don't think that way. So what I've started, and now I've noticed a few of you and a few people in the center starting to do the same thing. When you start to come to hug somebody, because we do a lot of that here, as you've seen, they go, "Oh, no, I don't want you to catch this." I said, "No, I want to give you health. I want to share with you health and well-being." Why can't that be more contagious than the sickness? Why can't the light be more contagious than the darkness? It is, but we have to accept it. We have to accept it. And hopefully that'll lead into what I want to share today. I'll find a way, because you guys are helping me. Okay, never mind. So let's say, well, no, because it is, those of you who've been in the classes, you've been around a while, it's 32 years I'm in the center, and it still amazes me how things will just come out of me, with whether it's one-on-one meetings or like a group like this. Your energy will help me bring out certain things, even what we already said so far. I didn't plan on it. I have things planned out, yes. But what we started with already, I have no plan for that. It came out, and it could only come out because of you and the people who are watching us, because it's your energy. It's your energy. I really have learned from my teachers just to think, what can I do that's best for people? Period. End of story. So what your needs and your desires are was helping us to share. Now, I learned 32 years ago, the biggest distance in the world is between the mouth and the ear. And I've learned to listen for good and for bad. I need to see where I'm doing the wrong thing. So sometimes I'll have to follow the words that come out of my mouth and get them back to my ear. But also the other way. If you're really thinking just to be a support for people, a conduit for people, then often you'll get your own answer. You've probably experienced that. A friend comes to you for advice or help or what have you, and as you're really thinking, what can I do? I love them so much. I want to help them. I want to share with them. And words come out of your mouth. You don't know from where or what. But when you listen to your own words, you realize you have your own answer. Because the beauty of the light force, the beauty of the Creator is it's always win-win. I cannot have more good for me if I don't help or support you to have more good. You can't have more good if you're not supporting other people. And that's the beauty of the system, which is why the more we gather and the more people gathered in this consciousness, the more power we have. So even the people who are watching, there may be just one person sitting in the middle of Italy, but that one person channeling the light of the Creator can affect every Italian, and through them, every person on earth. We have that power. And so, okay, let's get to this. All right. So, because you'll see it will fit. When a person explores, I just saw a movie about people who explore these caves. They find caves that have never been seen before. So when they're exploring a cave and it's dark, what do? How do they see? They have those big headlight things or big flashlights or whatever they're called, and they do that. What do you do at home when you walk in at night and the room is dark and you need to cross the room? You turn on the light. Do you ever ask yourself why? Why do we have to turn on the light? Why, if you're in a space of darkness, do you have to turn on the light? You need to see, but why do we have to turn on the light to see? Think about it. Why do we see? These are the things that are so commonplace, we don't stop and ask ourselves questions, which is why thousands of years ago, when the Kabbalists were asking these kinds of questions, people thought if you learn too much Kabbalah, you'll go crazy. Yeah. Because you start to ask that question, why do you need to turn on the light to see? Well, Chaim, haven't you ever seen it before? You walk in a dark room, and if you don't turn on the light, you could trip over something. You could bump into something. Ever happened to you? Yeah. Yes, but now, as the Kabbalists teach us, the most important question is why? Why? Because if I don't ask why, I won't understand the technology of the universe. And Kabbalah is the technology of the universe. That's why it works for everybody. So why do we have to turn on the light? Because our eyes cannot see in the dark. Does it mean there's no light there? No, our eyes are limited. How many of you wear glasses? Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, 1 second. How many of you are wearing contacts? Yeah, okay, great. Right. Exactly. So why do we need glasses or contacts? Because our eyes don't see well. Even with the light on, things get blurry or what have you. Yes? But if you walk into a dark space like some of these people do with infrared goggles, can they now see in the dark? So then it's not really dark. It's just our eyes are limited. We can't see in what we call dark. But you get different types of animals. They could see in the dark. They can navigate. So are we less than animals? No. Be careful. I hear somebody's voice going, well, you don't know my neighbor. That person, right? Exactly. So we are the highest creation and we have the capability, but why were we created with our eyes not being able to see in the dark? To teach us the lesson that if we have difficulty in a physical level to see in the dark, then how much more do we have difficulty up to now, and we're getting better and better as we apply Kabbalah, how much difficulty do we have to see in the spiritual dark? Think about that. Anyone here in the midst of some sort of challenge, difficult situation, obstacle in life? Yes? The rest of you know? Perfectly blissed out, capable, okay. How about out there? Okay, we got to keep checking them. Sometimes, I'm looking at the camera, but I keep forgetting there's people behind that, right? We got lots of people watching us. So you're in the midst of a difficult situation. What are you really saying? Can't see the light of the Creator. But now let me ask you, do you believe that the light of the Creator is infinite or not? So if it's infinite, doesn't it also exist in the midst of your challenge? Okay, that's it. So now when we've promised ourselves we are going to act with greater love, kindness, compassion, what does that mean when we are in the midst of that challenge? It means that we have promised to see more light, the light of the Creator in all the things around us, in the midst of those challenges. That's what we're really saying, because we find ourselves in that spiritual darkness. The moment something doesn't go my way, the moment somebody says something that hurts my feelings, or I don't like, or is critical, or what have you, what happens at that moment? Our eyes shut, the spiritual eyes close down. And we don't see the light of the Creator in that moment. Because if we saw the light of the Creator in that moment, would we be angry, upset, jealous, greedy, egotistical, guilt, shame, any of those things? Not at all. We would immediately see the light and we would go for the light. We would find a way to manifest that light in our lives. That's all we're learning here. How to see the light everywhere. But when we get reactive, when we have that knee-jerk, immediate response of fear or anger or resentment because of something that was said or done, then we've closed down and we forgot that the light of the Creator is infinite. We forgot in that moment. And yet it's always there. And who's it waiting on? Us. Just like when you walk in the dark room. Who is the light in the room waiting for? Is it not the same? Isn't the darkness in the room or the light in the room that appears to be dark, how come the light doesn't just turn itself on? And don't tell me because we don't have one of those sensors, right? That's cheating. But you understand the idea? Even there's light in the room. So you say, even you have to put on those infrared goggles. But the light is there waiting for us. This is, for me, one of the biggest difficulties with the way people teach or have taught us about the Creator. Because it's caused many, many people to be disconnected from the Creator and all their blessings. And the key is, or the thing they've taught us, God is all-powerful, and God will do what God wants to do. And therefore, the converse of that is, if there's trouble in somebody's life, then obviously it's because God wants them to have trouble or is putting trouble there. But that's what we have to think about. That's what we're inferring, right? There are even some people say that. Well, look at these people, the kids in Thailand, right? We want to meditate, get them all out. So how could God be loving and kind and let that happen? No, we are here in Kabbalah to understand it's all up to us. This world is of our making. This world is in our hands. Yes, we have the power of the Creator to make use of, but it's all up to us. That's why the more we promise and then take those actions of love, kindness, and compassion in a greater way, the more we are changing what's happening in the world. Even like this, we started here a couple years back, just a few of us in this room. Now we've got people all over the world on the internet. So there are more and more people out there because there are more and more people even today waiting for you and me to spread this to them. They're waiting for these kinds of answers. Why? Because we all have it in our soul. Before you came here, before the first day you walked in the Kabbalah Center, were you good people? Uh-oh, now you have me scared. Of course you were. You were good people. But something in your heart and soul said, you know what? There's got to be something else going on. It can't just be what I see, taste, touch, and feel. It can't just be the 5 sense realm. We have those intuitive flashes. We have thoughts that contradict some of the things that we grew up with, the way they used to teach us about God. Well, God is jealous, and God is angry, and God is vengeful, and this, that, and the other. No, no such thing. Turn on the light anywhere in this world. You turn on the light, where does the light shine? It goes everywhere, 360 degrees. The light itself will always go out. So if the physical light does that, how much more the spiritual light? But we have to be open to it. That's it. You have to turn the switch. Even with those sensors, don't you have to walk in the room? Right? How do you know if you're not in the room, the sensor doesn't make the light go on anyway? But then the moment the door starts to open, the light goes off. So you think you turned it on, right? So I told you, Kabbalah makes you crazy, right? Do we know? How do you know? If the tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? How do you know? You know what the Kabbalistic answer is? Oh, you know, so I don't have to tell you. Okay? You didn't say you don't know. The answer is, no, it doesn't. Because it takes a receiver to manifest the sound. So even you say, well, they put a microphone out there, right? And then they let the tree fall, but nobody was around. Yeah, but the microphone is a receiver of that sound vibration. So it makes it manifest on the tape or on the recording. So yes, it doesn't make a sound like the light. Darkness will stay until we activate the light. But we have to be able to see or keep in our mind, in our consciousness, the light is infinite, so the light is there. I want to share with you a couple things, because you know they say, what do they say about hindsight? 20/20. What about foresight? So here, I want to share with you a couple things I found. 1939, the New York Times. TV will never be a serious competitor for radio, because people must sit and keep their eyes glued on a screen. The average American family hasn't time for it. Like, they don't say who wrote it. Of course, by 1939, I'm not sure they're around anymore. Then, another one, 1977. I won't even say his name, he's probably still around. But the founder of one of the computer companies, way back, that supplied computers and different aspects of computers for business. 1977, right? This is the founder of the company. There is no reason for any individual to have a computer in his home. So hindsight, yes, we're all laughing, right? But foresight is almost blind. That's our problem. Foresight is almost blind. It's easy to say after the fact. How many times have we said to our, oh, see, you should have done that. You should have done. Well, of course, looking back, it's always easy to say that. But looking forward, like we just said, if we can't even see in a dark room, then how much more difficult is it for us to foresee what the right thing to do in any situation? No less to see what the exact circumstances going on are. How many of you ever had two people come to you and say, I want you to decide between us? And now they both tell you stories. They were in the same experience. It was just between the two of them. How many stories do you hear? Two, maybe three. It depends. Right? Some people, they'll tell you two stories. They'll tell you one the first time the other person speaks. Now they tell you a different story. Right? Then you get a different story from the other person who's counteracting their story. So you can hear from two people who were in one experience for 3 minutes, you can hear 3 or 4 or 5 different stories. Because everyone has their own perspective. That's why we can only go back to ourselves. We can only talk about ourselves. Because we are the ones who've decided on our limitations. We are the ones who have caused our eyes not to see spiritually. Think about it. How many people that you know of grew up with parents who told them, and we're talking in the limited way, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never achieve, you can't do it, your siblings are much better than you, smarter than you, more capable than you, better looking than you, etc., etc. You know people like that? So they're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and that's what they've been told. Now you meet them, and they're 40, 50, or 60, and how are they behaving? They're still believing the same things their parents told them. They're still believing that they're limited in one way or another. Now, we can blame. We can say, well, it's the parents' fault. The parents shouldn't have done that. But at 25, 30, don't you think we are capable now to change the way we believe about ourselves? We are capable, but it's not an easy thing to do. And we have to be all the more conscious to do it. Teachers do the same thing to students. Same thing, just a different frame. Right? Could be a straight A student. They do one lousy paper for whatever reason or do bad on one test and the teacher says, oh, I expected so much more than you. I thought you were much better than this. Could be one time. But because of that opponent in our head that's always there to challenge us, what will that one student remember? They'll remember the time that they got the C or they got less than and they were berated by the teacher and maybe even in front of the class. So think of all the emotional energy that comes with that. Right? They're straight A's, and now everyone's laughing at them because you remember what it was like when you were in high school and you got all the good grades and everyone made fun of you because back then, not everybody liked everybody who did well. Yeah, exactly. Still sometimes, right? You do really well in your job and some of the people around you don't like it. Is that because of you or because of them? It's them. But you understand again, we still hold on to these things and we will do it to ourselves. How many things did you tell yourself at you were 8, 10, 12, 15, 19, 25 that you still believe are limiting you? Oh, that was a stupid thing. Anyone here still have guilt? Yes. Exactly. So what's guilt? Guilt is the same thing. It's something happened, we injected in ourselves a negative limiting belief, and to this day we're still holding on to it. What did we do about it? So it doesn't mean we didn't do something wrong, we didn't do something. But we have the ability to go back and fix it. We have the ability to heal it. We have the ability to change it. How long does it take us? How much time would it take us to change our beliefs about ourselves? Blink of an eye. Blink of an eye. But there's one condition. We have to unbelieve the limitation, and we have to believe the unlimited nature that we have within us. That's how we're going to heal ourselves. Because we're all sitting here, and I know right now, you've got that voice in your head telling you, yes, this is your limitation, this is your limitation. We need to think of our limitations. One of the worst things you can do Kabbalistically is try and ignore or deny your limitations, deny your blockages. Because if you deny them, how can you fix them? If you act as if they don't exist, how can you fix it? You can't. So you've got to see it in order to fix it. So we have to accept it, but just let it be for a moment. Yes, I said that thing, I did that thing, I acted that way. Now let me go counteract it. Do I have the capability? Yes. And that's what we're here to learn. How do I do that? See, he's already asking, how? How, Chaim? How do we do that? So the first thing is, we've got to remember, how perfect are we already? 100%. How big is the light of the Creator? Infinite. How powerful is the Creator? All powerful. Right? The light exists everywhere. The Creator is all good all the time. And how were we created? In the image and likeness. What does that mean? That we have a piece of that absolute perfection inside of us. That is our true potential. We are 100% pure light beings. We are pure and perfect like the Creator. But we have not yet revealed it all. We have revealed some of it. That's the goodness that we are already. That's the good people that we are as of now. But then there's the other part that's our potential, waiting for us to reveal it. Not waiting on the Creator. The Creator already gave us 100%. What more can we get from the Creator? If the Creator gave us 100%, what more can it give us? Nothing. It's we who have to reveal it. And that's why greater acts of love, kindness, and compassion will reveal it. So the first step to beginning your process of unlimiting yourself and living into your true potential is just to keep reminding yourself you're already perfect. You have perfection, not already like you have nothing to change. But you already have the perfection is there. It's already been set out for us. We already have our 100% bliss. We just have to live into it. That's first and foremost. We have to keep telling ourselves. That's why every Sunday we have the affirmation about consciousness, and we've talked about it, and I will keep reminding you because we all need the reminder. I am a pure and perfect being of light. I am a pure and perfect being of light. If the first thing you see in the morning is your face and the last thing you see is your face, so remind yourself, look in your mirror. You are a perfect, pure and perfect being of light. I am a pure and perfect being of light. Keep reminding yourself, because during the day, that other opponent voice in your head is going to try and get you to remember, oh, no, you're not. Because remember what your parents told you. Remember what the teacher said. Remember the thing you did. And that's it. Yes, so our job is to say, thank you for reminding me. Do we always want to be reminded of the mistakes we made? Yeah, exactly. We don't want to be, but we're learning here that it's good for us. Because when I can see my mistake, what can I do? I can now fix it. So that's it. How much light did the Creator put in our soul? 100%. We have enough light. All we have to do is know where to send it. We have to know where to shine it. You walk into a room, if you're walking into this tunnel, you're walking into this cave, and you want to explore the cave, and you want to move forward, do you turn on the light source and shine it behind you? No. But the light is on. Where do you want to shine the light? In front of you so you can keep walking forward. So that's all that's missing. We have to decide where to shine the light. So when that opponent is telling you, oh yeah, remember the negative thing you did, or remember what happened to you, or remember that bad person, and right away you want to withdraw, say, no, thank you very much for pointing out where I need to shine the light. Because when we shine the light, what happens for us? I can see clearly. We can see now the right answer, the right way, the right direction. We won't stumble over things physically or spiritually because the light is shining. How many of you ever driven a car at night? You ever turn on the high beams? Why do you have to turn on the high beams? To see more clearly. So we're walking right now in life on the regular beams, right? We're good, loving, kind, generous, compassionate people. Could we turn on our high beams? Yes or no? Okay, good. I didn't want to scare the new people with yes or yes yet. Right? That's all we have to do. Turn on your high beams. Greater, bless you, love, kindness, compassion. That's it. We have the capability, we just have to remember it. Then, here comes the second part. We said hindsight 2020, foresight was, let's put it that way, was almost blind. Right? We're all looking for, any of you ever have a decision to make, or in the midst of a decision you don't know which to do? This way or that way? So what are we saying about foresight? Again, almost blind, right? I can't see whether I should do this or this. So how do you do it? You drive at night, what do we do? So simple. Do you look at your car and say, hey, stupid car, turn on the high beams? Or do you say to the street, build a street light so I can see? No, you take control, and what do? You click the button and the high beams go on. So you're walking in that indecisiveness. I don't know this or this or this or this or which decision to do. Turn on your high beams. Make the road clearer for you. Do we have the capability? Yes or yes? Yes. Absolutely. Why? Because we already have the 100%. See, look how quickly we could forget. 2 minutes. That's how easy it is. We've got to keep reminding. That's why we've got to keep hugging each other and supporting each other and bringing more people on board. Because if you have 10,000 people around you and you're in a low spot, there's got to be at least one person of the 10,000, or if we can get to 100,000 or a million or 100 million, got to be at least one person out there who in the moment that you and I are in our low moment, they're shining light out into the world. And we can catch a piece of that and our high beams can go on because they're sending light. So that's why by ourselves we could never do it, because then when we're low, we'll be low. When we're high, we'll be high. The more people we have around us physically and spiritually who are on this path, then the easier it is to make sure that there's some of those people who are sending us light at the moment that we need it, and we're sending them light at the moment they need it. Aren't the probabilities high that that would happen? If you have 3 people in a group, low probability. They could all 3 be in the same low state. But you start to get 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, a million people, what's the probability that at least a few of those people are in a high state while the few are in the low state? Almost 100%, right? Well, so you're fixing your odds. How many of you used to go to the gambling casinos? Okay. Used to. I don't want to get anyone in trouble, right? But think about it. We go to the gambling casinos and you gamble. Why is it called a gamble? Because the odds are stacked against us, right? They're stacked against us. I don't know, even the best odds are 49 for us and 51 for the house. So no matter what, they're stacked against us. But spiritually, what are the odds? 100 to 1 that we're going to win. Actually, 100 to nothing. We are going to win no matter what. So all we have to do is make use of them. Make use of them. Remember, look forward, turn on your high beams. Make use of the light that's already inside you to a greater extent, and it's going to be clearer. You have your answers much easier. And then all you have to do is follow it. But we got to remember to turn on those high beams. So you start remembering we are already 100%, right? And then we got to remember what? We are not the light itself. We are not the light itself. We are carriers of the light. We are vessels of the light. We are conduits of the light. Even the light bulb. Is the light bulb the light itself? No, it's just a carrier. Once you activate it, this metaphysical force that reveals itself physically called light becomes manifest. But if the light bulb itself were the light, then it should be shining all the time without electricity. No, it takes all the physical pieces together to make the metaphysical shine. So then the same thing, we are conduits of the light. We are filled with the light, but we are not the light itself. But we're the ones who decide how much light gets out and how much and what direction it goes, or unfortunately, how little light gets out. So just like a hose, right? A hose, you turn on the water, you want to water your grass, your lawn, your plants. If you put a kink in the hose, how much water goes through? 100% or less? Less. So do you start screaming at the water? Do you start screaming at the grass? Do you scream at FPL? Do you scream at who do you start screaming at? You can scream at the hose all you want, but is that going to make the water come out 100%? Stupid hose, give me 100%. Don't you see I want to make these plants grow? No, what do? You unkink the hose. You unclog the conduit, the pipeline. So that's what Kabbalah is teaching us, how to unclog our pipeline. But like we said, you're in the midst of that moment. I feel angry, I feel resentful, I feel hurt, I feel upset. What do we just do? We're acknowledging the clog. We have 100%, we blocked it. Previously with fear, anger, greed, jealousy, ego, intolerance, etc. So now in the moment when the challenge comes, because what does Kabbalah teach us? Many of you have taken the classes. Every challenge that comes our way is an opportunity to unclog our pipeline. How? The person says or does something, pushes my button. It's my button. It's my clog. Yes, they may not be such a good person for pushing on it, But from my point of view, when they push on my button, it gives me the opportunity to be aware of where my clog is. And then I have the capability to turn on the light, act like the light, remove that clog. Now, more of my potential shining out, more light shining from me. And the light will manifest in my life, in our lives, greater love, kindness, compassion, prosperity, health, protection, solutions. All the good things in life will come from the light. So then it's to our benefit to unclog ourselves and let more of that light come through. We have the capability. But what stops us? We're reactive. We're reactive. So one of the most powerful things that we teach in the midst of that challenge, how do we stop the voice of the opponent from pushing us just to do that reactive thing? To again behave immediately with fear or jealousy or anger or what have you. Got to stop. Pause. So easy. Pause. Just stop. Before you take the action, before you let that opponent run away with you, pause. Stop. It opens us up to free will. Do you realize when we behave knee-jerk, you know, that you go to the doctor and the doctor hits the knee with that hammer and the leg kicks? You're familiar? Yes? How much free will do you have over that? None, because they say it's just physiology. Well, in our life, up to now, how much free will did we use to act with anger or fear or resentment or jealousy or greed or intolerance? No free will. It's just automatic, like a knee-jerk response. Why? Because they push the button, and we've done it so many times that it's automatic. Now we have to pause. You feel hurt. You feel angry. Pause. Stop. Leave a space for the light to come in. Leave a space for the voice of the Creator to come in your head. Have you ever had an intuitive flash? An intuitive thought? That gut feeling? Yes or yes? Yes. So where does it come from? Comes from the light of the Creator. Now all we have to do is create a space for it. But by acting reactively, automatic pilot of a negative nature, we leave no space for that voice of the light to come to us and tell us what to do that will bring us the removal of the clog, more peace and more blessings in our life. So we have to pause. Pause. It's what sets, in this frame, what sets humans and animals apart? Free will. Don't we say animal instincts? Animals behave instinctively, which means what? They have no consciousness. Whatever happens to them, they just behave according to their programming. No free will. So, unfortunately, most of us, at some point in the day, we behave also with no free will. They push our button, we just go ahead and behave. Another button, we just go ahead and behave. What we're learning here is stop. Do we have the capability to stop? Yes, we do. Those of you who don't think so, let me ask you a simple question. How many of you ever woke up in the morning, usually Monday through Friday, the days you have to go to work? You wake up, the alarm rings, and you say, I just feel like staying in bed. Ever happen? Exactly. But at least 99 times out of 100, what do you do anyway in spite of your feeling? You get out of bed and you go to work. So we are capable to feel one way and behave another. We are capable. Now it's only a question of, will we apply it in those times when we're being reactive outside? That's it. So I feel angry, pause. The moment I pause, I have now the ability to look at two choices. Do I want to just be reactive, or do I want the light? Do I want to give in to the darkness and trip over things spiritually, or do I want the light and avoid problems? Which do you want? At least now we have free will. That pause is extremely important, because the light is always there for us. The light always wants the best for us. The light is always pushing on us to give us the best, but sometimes we don't see it. Again, hindsight, yes. Foresight, it's hard to see because our buttons get pushed. We have a student here in the Boca Center. For about 2 years, she was having, every now and then she'd get really sick, and then she'd have headaches and all kinds of trouble, and she's going through her own guilt trip. What did she do? Because she understands cause and effect. It's one of the traps, if you will, for spiritual people. Since we know everything is cause and effect, then when a challenge happens, it's easy to look in the mirror and say, what did I do to make it happen? Instead of doing something good to fix it. So for 2 years, she's battling. She'd come to me, you know, what do I do? What's going on? How come? This and this and this. So we talk in different ways. So she'd go to the doctors. Of course, they throw medicine at her, and it'd go back and forth, and it'd go away and come back and go away. And then one time, the headaches are starting not to go away. And she's trying to take more medicine. She's trying to find something to do, etc. And then she decided, you know what? Maybe she needs to start exercising. Maybe exercise will help her, right? Get the blood flowing, whatever. And just the day she decides she was going to start exercising, she trips and she basically breaks her ankle. Yeah. So more guilt or less guilt? Exactly. She goes to the doctor. The doctor says, okay, well, you can't exercise, this, that, and other thing. Well, long story short, the fact she broke her ankle saved her life. Because as they started to check more and more detailed, these finer, more detailed tests, they found out she had swelling in the brain, she had pressure, and had she gone to exercise, she could have died. So the broken ankle actually prevented her from dying. From that point forward, she started to turn on her high beams. Because she started to realize, you know what? As much as she's heard, as we all have heard, the Creator, the light force, is always looking out for us. It's always pushing on us to do good. It's always supplying us with great opportunities, but we have to see the light in it. So again, hindsight, she looked back and she realized the light was always there. The universe was supporting her. The odds were in her favor, but she hadn't accepted it until now. Now, as she moves forward, she can turn on the high beam. She can act more proactively, kindness, love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, whether it's about her or the people around her. But she was able to change. And now, thank God, she went through whatever she had to, and now it's better. She's on the upswing. She sees life differently. She's much happier. She's got 1,000 times less of the guilt and the hurt and all of the blame and the doubt that she used to have. Because once a person goes through a miracle like that, hopefully we'll remember, right? Hopefully. Right? With more support, we're able to do that. Because we'll all tend to forget at some point. But we've got to go back and remember, the universe is always on our side. The Creator is always in the mix. Because the light is how big? Infinite. So then it's always shining on us. But we have to open our eyes to it. So we learn how just to start opening your eyes by these actions of greater love, kindness, and compassion. And then once we do that, then no matter what happens to us, we will be able to see the light through the darkness. And that's really what we're getting down to. Because if I can see the light, not only in myself, but the more I'll see light in myself, what will it help me to see about you? More light in you. Because we all know, intellectually, every human being created by the Creator has light in our soul. But again, some of it is active, some of it is potential. Some of it is not active yet. So our job is to activate ours and see the light and send the light to other people so they can activate it in them. Because once that happens, once you're sending enough light to any person on earth, they will pick up and they will change. They will start to shift. And I want to sort of end off here, Kabbalistic story along those lines. There was, of course, they all take place in the 1700s back then. For some reason, it looked like miracles took place more back then. Because they did or not? No, just didn't. We don't have the eyes to see it. How many of you have a cell phone? How miraculous do you think the cell phone is? Or do you start to get upset because it doesn't work, or the internet, or you start blaming the carrier, blah, 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 right? But do you stop and think how miraculous that is? Take it back 300 years and say, look, with this thing, I could talk to people all over the world. What would they tell you? Crazy. Number one, you're crazy, burn you at the stake, things like that. But if they really understood it, wow, a miracle. But we take it for granted. Why? Because we're so used to it. We're so used to it. That's our problem. We get used to the miraculous things. People just walked in today because they've heard the story before. Some guy came a number of years back, walked into the LA Center when I was there, and walked up to Rav Berg, our spiritual leader, and said, I just had an amazing miracle. They had a miracle, their car crashed, blah, 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 and they weren't hurt. It was a terrible accident, and they survived, not a scratch, I don't know. And the Rav looked at them and said, I had a bigger miracle. I said, really? What do you think they're expecting? The Rav to talk about the car fell off the cliff and they survived and this and that? No, the Rav said, I drove from here to there, didn't have any accident. Nothing. Right? You drove from your house or wherever you came from to here, no accident, no nothing. Do you realize that's a miracle? That's what we have to do. Yeah, now we do. 20 minutes ago, you might not have thought that way, but that's what we're learning to think. Of course it's miraculous. No car accident, no illness, no negativity. That's the miracle. Why does something bad have to happen, then go away for us to realize miracles? The greatest miracle is what we all want. Heaven on earth, peace on earth. We consider it a miracle, right? But it's the nature of the universe. It's our nature. We have to get back to that nature. Stop thinking it's miraculous when two people get along. Stop thinking it's miraculous when people in a group can start to decide to be one-minded or help each other, etc. That's how we've been created. The miracle really is all the chaos. That's the miracle, because that's against the nature of the universe. So this Kabbalist moves into a town to become the spiritual leader, and he has this one really evil person. And imagine in the 1700s, there were the government wasn't always so friendly with spiritual people, right? Pogroms and things like that. So when the Kabbalist comes into town as a spiritual leader, they all warn him. This person over here, be careful what you do. You better just do whatever they say, because if he doesn't like you, he goes to the government. He's got the ear of the prosecutors, whatever it is, and they just come and people have disappeared. So being a true Kabbalist has no care. He doesn't care about that. All he wants is the right thing. What's the right thing to do? What's the light behavior? So he starts teaching everybody, like we learn here, how to just do what the light wants of us, what our true potential is, etc. So of course, along the way, this evil person gets their nose out of, how did it say it? Their nose? Okay, good, I like that. All right? They get their nose out of joint. They get upset, they get angry. For those are watching, what do you mean the nose out of joint? Like this? Okay. Right? They got upset and angry. So, of course, he storms off and he's screaming, I'm going to get you, and they're going to come get you, and all of this. And, of course, all the people around him starting to shake. The Kabbalist just looking with, like, I don't care. You can't harm me. If I'm in the light, you can't harm me. So the Kabbalist and a couple of his students are walking out, back then, out in the open field or whatever, and they hear this sound, the horse, da-da-da-da-da-da, and they look off in the distance, and here's this evil guy with his big sword, and he's screaming, I'm coming to kill you, I'm coming to kill you, I'm coming to kill you. So, of course, the two people who've been around this guy for a while, they start running behind the bushes, and the Kabbalist just stops, and he just starts staring, and like in a trance, and he's just staring and staring. The horse is getting closer, and the guy's screaming louder, and he's just looking, until he pulls up 2 feet in front of him. The guy jumps off the horse, and he's swinging his sword, and all of a sudden he just throws the sword down, and he falls at the feet of the Kabbalist. He starts crying and begging forgiveness. So the Kabbalist picks him up, has a few-minute conversation. He gets off, and he goes away. Well, now the two students running over said, what did you do? Like, what magic incantation did you use? He says, no. He says, I know that inside this person is the light of the Creator. But it's been so well hidden and so well covered up that he didn't know what to do. All he could do is be evil. So he says, I looked inside of him, I saw that light, and I activated the light inside of him. And the light inside of him caused himself to ask for forgiveness, to understand the negativity of his behavior, etc. So when you and I today are looking in the mirror, the morning and night, and whenever you kind of do this on the windows, as you're walking down the street, look and remind yourself one thing. You are a pure and perfect being of light. You have the infinite light inside you. So then when you turn away from the mirror or the window and you start looking at all the people on the street, look inside them and see the light of the Creator in them. Because as you'll see the light in you and remove your darkness, and see the light in them and start to remove their darkness, and then they start to feel more light-like, so they're smiling at more people, which is activating more light into other people. Pretty soon we have what's called the critical mass of people shining the light, and we will all be able to see, and even the people who aren't learning, because the light will be so bright, we'll be able to draw the light through all the darkness in the world. We'll be able to draw the harmony and order of the Creator, heaven on earth, through all the chaos in the world, and all of us will be able to live with peace, love, kindness, and compassion. God bless. So, I just want to share with you a story that happened recently, because all of you understand we have these books of the Zohars. For those of you who are new, we're going to do a meditation using 3 Aramaic letters because we understand that the Aramaic letters are literally channeling the infinite light of the Creator. So our ultimate goal is spreading the Zohar everywhere. So someone just wrote me, and I'm going to share with you one of the miracles. For months, I have been concerned whether my teenage son was doing drugs. Okay? So it doesn't have to be drugs, but we all have somebody we're concerned about in one way or another.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
For months, I have been concerned about whether my teenage son was doing drugs. I was supposed to go out of town this weekend, and I wanted him to be protected. He's antagonistic towards Kabbalah, so I decided to hide the pocket Zohar in his car that he uses. I was drawn to a specific place below the panel of the trunk where the jumper cables are kept. You understand? So now, she's been working with the Zohar, etc. She gets this intuitive thought, this is where you hide it. When I lifted the panel, I found a duffel bag filled with drug paraphernalia. I knew immediately that the light had chosen this spot for me to put the Zohar so that I would find the bag. I knew too that the light was showing me that the way to protect my son was to immediately deal with the drug issue. I canceled my trip, took him for a drug test, and we began working on this problem. Pretty powerful, no? So those are the kind of stories that keep repeating themselves again and again and again. And all we have to understand is, many of you, I've told different stories over the last couple years that we're doing Spiritual Sunday of the miracles that take place. People's relationship getting better, even major things. Should I say it? Hurricanes, right? About a year ago, I showed, on a Sunday, I showed the video of how the students in the Mexico centers were spreading Zohar all throughout Mexico, almost 100,000 Zohars. That was Sunday. The next Friday, you go back and check, to actual fact, the biggest hurricane ever measured, they said beyond a 5, was on its way directly for central Mexico. Within less than 12 hours, from Friday night to Saturday morning, it had turned from the biggest storm ever to a rainstorm, just rain showers. So the Zohar creates miracles, collective miracles, individual miracles, because it shines the light of the Creator. So the ultimate mission of the center is to spread the Zohar around the world. Imagine the pain and suffering. I had a student last night. She's been with us for almost 20 years. And she was saying to herself, and saying it out loud to me, she says, she's begun to think about what's her contribution in life? What is she doing in life, right? She doesn't necessarily work. She works part-time, this and that. But she started to think because of some things that people around her had said. What is she contributing to life? And I stopped her and I reminded her, wait a second, are you part of the Zohar project? She says, yes. I said, you've been spreading the Zohar? Yes. I said, how many lives do you think you saved? She says, I don't know. I said, yes, you don't know because you don't see them. But because you don't see it, do you believe that the light of the Creator has awakened at least one person with every Zohar goes out there, not to cause harm to others, right? Not to cause harm to themselves, to save a life. So at least every Zohar goes out has to save out of 7.5 billion people, at least 1 or 2 lives. So I said, what could be a bigger contribution to life than that? So a person leaves the world and says, yes, they built a big business. How many lives did they change? But every Zohar goes to the heart and soul of every person. And we know the heart and soul knows the power of the light. It knows the Creator. And as we awaken that heart and soul, like we just said, with evil people, they will turn to be good people, kind people, and nice people. That's the power of what we're doing here. And all we want to do is speed up the process. That's it. How fast do we want heaven on earth? Because we're learning week by week by week. It's all in our hands. So it's up to us. How fast can you spread the Zohar? How fast can you make use of the Zohar? It really is that simple. All we need is just the support to do that. So I just want to share that with you before we do our offering. For those of you who are new, it's fine just to understand that it is a free will offering here. Whatever you'd like to offer, we appreciate it, we make use of it, and we know that it brings blessings in return because the light is the light. So the more light we put out into the world, the more light we get back. All right? And that's it. And remember, if we are, there's a nice Kabbalistic story. Okay, I'll tell you quickly. this monarch was walking through the streets, and as he's walking through the street, this one sort of homeless type person is screaming, the king is horrible, and the king is evil, and the king is terrible. So what does the king do? Of course, the king looks at one of his advisors and says, you know what, I want you to go cut the tongue out of that man so he can't say bad things about the king. So a couple weeks later, what happens? The king is walking the same road with the same advisors, and here's the same guy there. Only now the guy is saying, he's talking, right? So he's saying nice things. The king looks at the advisor and said, didn't I tell you to cut his tongue out? You said you told me to cut out his evil tongue. So I taught him how to be a better person, basically awakened the light in him, and I cut out his evil tongue and replaced it with a good tongue. Follow? That's what we're here to do. We're here to cause transformation because everybody has the 100% inside them. So if we can spread the Zohar and awaken the light inside people, we will change them. And the faster we do that, the faster those people out there that we may be worried about, what can we do? If you're worried about being robbed, just get rid of all the thieves, right? But you can't get rid of them if you transform them. From being thieves to being generous, charitable people, you got rid of all the thieves, yes or yes? If you're worried about physical harm and you get rid of all the people who commit harm, right, by transforming them from doing harm to doing good, then what do you have to worry about? That's the power. Because all we have to do is look back at history. When in history did getting physically rid of bad people stop badness? Is that a word? Right? Didn't. There's always someone else will come along and come along and come along. Until we get rid of all the darkness, the energy of darkness spiritually, then there'll be no more bad people. Because the Creator only created good people, light-filled people. So that's why we take these moments, right? So please, if you hold your gift, your offering in your hands, we'll just take a moment to put our energy and our blessing in it. Those who are watching online, you're welcome to send it into the center. You can go on the Facebook page. You see the link for also sharing your gifts. But again, consciousness is everything. So we just take this moment to put our love and our kindness and our blessing into this offering, that it will go out and touch the hearts and soul of every person on earth, awaken them to the light of the Creator inside them, and transform them from darkness to light, from negative to positive, transform their lives from chaos to order. And we know as this is our meditation, as we put this thought and this energy out into the world, that it also operates in our life many, many fold over. So with gratitude to the Creator for all that we've been given, we send this out into the world to bring blessings of peace and harmony. And together we say, Amen. So let's wish all of our friends watching on Kabbalah.com and Facebook, have a wonderful, wonderful day, a great week. Happy Spiritual Sunday. There we go. Happy Spiritual Sunday. We look forward to seeing you next week.